Recordings go. Good to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claire Brelio. I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director for the Economic Development Collaborative, and I wanted to thank you all for being here. I believe we probably will have a few people who are maybe a little confused by what happened yesterday. I accidentally deleted a webinar, and then we sent out an email to everyone who had registered for webinars about signing up for that webinar that day. So I apologize for the confusion. You all were included in that email. So this content that we're going over today is not is specific for Simi Valley, in that we wanted to provide a space for Simi Valley business owners to ask questions about the programs that we're going to be talking about today. But initially, the first part of this webinar will be devoted to similar content, just a few updates to navigating local, state, and federal resources available. So I'm just gonna, I've just prefaced that now. I know we have about 60 people joining us, and we had over 150 people register. So we will, I'll give a quick introduction and then we'll get started. Just so you know, everyone is muted and you do not have access to the video at this time. We will open it up for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, but I would encourage you to use the chat feature if you have technical issues, and if you have questions, wait until the end of the presentation and use that space to submit your questions in the Q&A section down below, where the bar at the bottom. So I'm joined by Visionality, Emily Barony, and her team on the back end, who will be helping me in the Q&A process, and that is about it. So before we get started, I just want to make cognizant of time. We have about 66 people in the room so far, and I just will give it one more minute. You know, I wanted to say, I always kind of start these webinars, I think this is probably the 6th or 7th one, by just reflecting on where we are. And as an organization, we are at the point where we're making a pivot to start communicating some different messages. And I would appreciate any thoughts on additional webinar topics that you may want to hear from us on. And we are next week, we're pivoting to a different webinar topic. Basically, I received my PPP funding and my EIDL funding. Now what do I do? Or I didn't receive it. Now what do I do? So that's something that we're working towards, and you can register for that already on our website. But please share your webinar ideas in the chat feature. In the chat feature before we get started, or as they come up. But just personally speaking, this is my third now federally declared disaster that we've gone through. If you've been in Ventura County during, since 2017, we've gone through 3. And I was thinking about what happens in those moments of disruption, and working with hundreds and hundreds now, thousands now of business owners in that process, helping them navigate all the resources that are available to them. I have discovered a few things as I look back and look at those moments of disruption and what they have personally given me. And I would invite you to consider that for yourself. What have those moments of disruption given you? I bet they've given you some more clarity on what was or wasn't working in your business model, or what you needed, more cash flow that you needed, or how you needed to restructure to meet that moment. And just looking back, I just have to say there can be a silver lining in all of these disruptions. And in my own life, I started my own design business in 2011, and the Thomas and fire and the subsequent mud flow took that business completely out, because I was based in Montecito and my clients left the area for about 8 months, and that it was at that time I decided to come on board full-time as communications director for the EDC. So sometimes disruptions can lead us to better things and new things and reimagining the way that we want to do life and we want to explore life. So saying that, we'll get started here now. I'm going to share my screen and hopefully we won't have any issues here like we did last time. Great. I'm going to move this far out of the way and we will get started. Okay. So for all you Simi Valley employers and self-employed individuals and even employees, if there are any employees, welcome to the webinar on how to navigate local, state, and federal resources. Again, my name is Claire Brulio. I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director for the Economic Development Collaborative. I hope by now you've heard of the Economic Development Collaborative. We host a small business development center where we have about 30 consultants on staff who can assist in basically any area of business need, all provided at no cost to you because we are in part federally funded. So I'll go over more resources or more information on how to connect with a business advisor later in this webinar, but I just want to mention that up front. So as you're hearing this, you don't have to go through this alone. You can always connect with a business advisor after if you wish to do so. So the first thing that we always recommend businesses do is connect with your insurance provider during any sort of disruption. This is really important right now because if you have business disruption insurance, this is what we've been essentially preaching at our clients for the last 2 years, get business disruption insurance, get business disruption insurance. And unfortunately, we've heard through many different sources that some of our clients aren't able to claim pandemic, any sort of loss due to pandemic because their specific rider didn't claim that or didn't include that in their business disruption insurance package. So I'm saying that because we know that that's happening with insurance companies. We're very aware of that. We also hear on the other hand, that some insurance companies are processing claims for the impact, any sort of business injury due to COVID-19. But the good news is that in response to numerous complaints by public officials and businesses, on Tuesday, April 14th, the California Insurance Commissioner required companies to comply, required insurance companies rather, to comply with their contracts and California law by fairly investigating all business interruption claims caused by COVID-19, just as they would for any other disaster. So that's encouraging news. If you do have business disruption insurance, if you have any sort of coverage like that, we are encouraging you to file a claim because we do not know what the state will do to put additional pressure on insurance companies to pay out those claims. That's what we're hoping for. So go ahead, we recommend to file a claim. The second thing that you want to do is to make sure that you are tracking any losses, any loss when you're applying for or trying to plan for the next 8 to 12 months. You want to know what your cash flow reserves are and what your current losses are, what your production loss is, your human capital loss is, whatever it is. You need to be very clear about that as we go through the products that are available to you, the programs that are available to you, so you know what you should or should not be asking for. Number 3, understand the performance-based contracts you may have with your suppliers or customers. This is really important if you are in any sort of production industry and your suppliers, you have a disruption in your supply chain and your suppliers are claiming force majeure, which basically means I'm off the hook because that was an act of God that took down my supply chain. So if that is your issue, we have an attorney that can guide you through that scenario to make sure that you get clarity yourself on what you have responsibility for and what your suppliers have responsibility for. So be very aware of that and don't wait. In these situations, I've talked with so many people lately who are just kind of waking up to what resources are available to them right now. I would say do not wait on any of this information I'm giving you. Make sure that that you maintain your relationships with your landlord, with your with your supply chain, with all, check all of those communication channels to your business and make sure that you understand what's going on there so that you understand your own liability and ownership. Number 4 is file for unemployment, and we're going to be talking about this a lot today. So whether you are self-employed or an employee and you've lost hours or wages, we encourage you to file for unemployment. And as most of you know, as of April 28th, the Pandemic Unemployment Insurance portal, it was made available through the EDD's website. And I know there's been challenges there, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Number 5 is understand your cash reserves. And I mentioned this before, check your accounts. Do you need additional capital? And I would say, unless you are, you are living off of a trust or a trust fund, there's very few of us that don't need additional capital as business owners right now. So be realistic about that. Understand that we are not looking at this, we are looking at this moment by moment, but it would be wisdom to look 6 months, 12 months, even a year and a half down the road, depending on what your job, what industry you are in, to determine what your cash flow needs are. And number 6, connect with an advisor who can help. And I'm just going to keep mentioning this throughout the conversation today that we have, because you don't have to go through this alone. And we have worked with over 2,000 businesses now in Santa Barbara and Ventura County, and it's, again, no cost, no strings attached, all available to you. Your tax dollars are already paying for it, so know that. You can call 409-9159 to schedule an appointment immediately after this webinar, and I encourage you to do that if you're looking for more assistance. So today we're going to be talking about 6 different program options that are currently available and hopefully will become available sometime very soon. EDD's Work Share Program, EDD Unemployment, EDD's Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which is unemployment for self-employed individuals, and the SBA's Paycheck Protection Program, EIDL loan, and the Express Bridge loan. And I just want to be clear, because we get this question a lot. These programs are run through 2 different agencies. We are the Economic Development Collaborative and the Small Business Development Center. We are not the EDD, and we are not the SBA. In fact, although we are a funded partner of the SBA, we operate a private loan capital fund. We don't lend SBA money. So when we get questions about SBA products or SBA loans or EDD questions, our job is to guide you to make the best decisions given the information and resources we know are available. Your job is to make that decision when you have that information. So we can do our best, but in some cases you will need to contact the SBA and the EDD directly to have your questions answered. Okay, sorry, my screen froze. Okay, here we go. So EDD's Work Share Program, I've worked in human resources. I have a background in human resources, and I still think this is one of the most commonly misunderstood and unknown programs that the EDD offers. And it's an amazing program. The benefits of the Work Share Program essentially minimize or eliminates the need for layoffs. So if you've been in this transition period with not knowing when you're going to reopen, what phase, is Governor Newsom going to give us to open up this particular sector of industry sector, and you're kind of in this limbo period, not knowing what to do, pay attention to this, because this program may be helpful to you. This program intends for you to retain your trained employees. So it works well in environments where you've had to find highly skilled, trained labor, specific labor. So in production environments or medical environments, for example. And it avoids the cost of recruiting, hiring, and training new employees. That's critical because as a former HR professional, I can tell you it's expensive to find new employees. Employees do not have to file for full unemployment on this program, and any business or industry can apply. And what's great about this is that it allows you to quickly gear up when conditions improve. And as we move into these different phases of reopening the economy, I think it would behoove some businesses specifically to look into this program, because again, it might be exactly what you need for this moment. I don't know why my thing's not working. Here we go. So key points for employers. This program is flexible. Employees can be rotated, so different employees have reduced hours and wages each week. You choose who participates. You determine which week or weeks will have wage and hour reductions. And a couple other things to note here. If an employee is absent for any reason, this can blow your percent of hours worked, because you must have at least 10% of the workforce, minimum of 2 people participating in this program. Company officers cannot go on work share or salaried employees that are exempt from overtime. So this is for your hourly workers. And I've also seen this work well. I mentioned production and like medical facilities, but it also can work well in environments with like childcare facilities, for example, where reduced hours are needed because the demand for services just are not there. So did I skip a slide? Hold on a second. No. Okay. So in order to participate in this program, there are many requirements, and I'm going to give you the contact information for the EDD at the end if you're an employer looking to use this program. But employers must meet minimally the health and maintain the health and retirement benefits that they are giving each employee. So even if you reduce an employee's work hours, you must maintain their health care and the retirement benefits as employees who are just the same as employees who are not on work share. You have to notify employees well in advance of participating in this program. You can't just say, by the way, everyone, tomorrow you're going on work share. You need to identify how many layoffs this will prevent by going on this program. And then there are additional reporting requirements every week with the EDD that the employer needs to do in order to continue work share. So there is I'm not going to minimize that either. There is a significant administrative requirement on behalf of the employer to make sure that this program works well. So in our workshare example, this is a slide I hoped I hadn't skipped. As I said, this works. We're going to use a very simple example of some production company who knows that they're going to have a 20% reduction in their production for a temporary period of time. So in our example, we have a 5-day work week, and we pay our employees $100 a day. So they receive $500 a week. Because we have a 20% reduction, we know that our employees are only going to need to work by what's 20% of 20% of the work week. They will lose 20% of the work week, sorry. So they will only work 4 days. And for that reason, they'll only get paid $400. This is where work share comes in. So the EDD uses the employee's UI benefit. And in this example, we're just for example, we're saying that they get $300 a week. If they were on full unemployment, they would get $300 a week. But because their work hours are only reduced by 20%, they will receive 20% of that full UI benefit. So that's $60. So you pay the employee $400, they work 4 days a week, and the EDD pays through UI an additional $60. So therefore, their income is only reduced by $40. And that's a really simple example, but they would be making $460 a week, only working 4 days instead of making $500 a week, working 5 days. And that's, again, very basic, but hopefully we'll paint a picture of what that might look like for you. So in this instance, typically there's a 1-week waiting period, just like applying for UI benefits for this program, and this is waived in the middle of this federally declared disaster. A few things to know as an employer. Let me move my screen here. Any additional wages earned during the week in the employment of an employer other than the work share benefit will be deducted dollar for dollar from the work share benefits that that employee receives. Meaning, if I am on work share and I'm working 4 days a week, and then I choose to go and be a bartender at night on my Fridays, that extra money is going to be factored into my work share benefit. So as an employee, I might not receive the 20% that we talked before on the previous slide. Employees must be available to work on their scheduled work share days. This is really important too, because if they're not, then the program just isn't designed to work for employees who are seeking other additional opportunities on non-work share days. Participating in work share does reduce employee unemployment benefits, just like regular UI benefits, but at a slower rate, because they're only drawing a certain percentage of that, 20% in our other example. And in this situation, because of the expanded benefits to UI under the CARES Act, the claimants can receive an extra $600 between March 29th and July 31st. That additional $600 weekly benefit is given to them even though they're on work share. So if you're interested as an employer to apply in applying for this program, you can find the application on the EDD's website, DE8686. You could even Google that and find the application. All of this is done by regular mail. EDD still in, I don't know what, 1980 in that way. But send it certified so you have proof of receipt of it, that it was received. That's really important, especially because mail now, God bless the mail people, but they are overwhelmed as well. The earliest date for a new work sharing plan to become effective is the Sunday before the first date you contact the EDD. So I'm running through this quickly because we have a lot to go through. This is a complicated program. I'm going to be really candid about that. So if you need more information, please, employers, please contact 916-464-3343 and request for more information directly from the EDD. And we'll move on here. Just important to note that as an employer, if you haven't been familiar with this program from the beginning, it's nothing new that will be charged to your UI account. You are already paying into this program just as you would your normal UI benefits. But what is important to know is that your reserve account, that you should have received a statement every February. The EDD will send out a statement, DE 2088, excuse my dog in the background, every February of each year. And that will show you how much is in your reserve account and how much is in that UI account. And so if you want to think about putting employees on work share, you are going to need to look and see what's in that reserve account to see if that's even possible. So if that is you and you want to meet with one of our advisors, please call our number, the number that I gave you before, and or call the EDD directly. Unemployment. Okay. So for those of you who do not know, the CARES Act increased the premium over the usual rates of unemployment insurance and extended the length of time of unemployment benefits. And this is important for people who, for anyone who's lost hours or wages due to COVID-19. The normal benefit for UI was only up to $450. Under the CARES Act, this was increased because of that additional $600 that's given from March 29th through July 31st if you happen to be unemployed. And that's given to you in its entirety. So whether you're on partial unemployment or full unemployment, you are entitled to that additional $600. Also, due to the impact of COVID-19, the length of time that you can claim unemployment benefits has been extended by 13 weeks. So from 26 to 39 weeks total, that can be the length of time that you are actually on unemployment. Unemployment for self-employed individuals. This is called pandemic unemployment assistance under the CARES Act due to anybody impacted by COVID-19 who is not currently or wasn't currently eligible to apply for unemployment benefits because they were either self-employed, had limited work history, were independent contractors, or didn't pay into a voluntary program that you can pay into as a self-employed individual into the UI system. Most self-employed individuals don't even know that that exists. And I would encourage you to look into that after this is over so you can begin to pay your own premiums. So if disruption occurs again, you are covered. That's an elective coverage that the EDD does offer. But in this instance, pandemic unemployment assistance became available, I think, God, y'all, I can't even remember the day. I think it was Monday this week or Tuesday, the 28th. So if you, to qualify, again, I mentioned business owners, self-employed, independent contractors, and those who wouldn't have been eligible for UI before. You are given the same amount of time, the 39 weeks for unemployment beginning February 2nd of 2020 until the end of December 2020 to actually apply for these benefits and receive these benefits. And you are given the additional 600 each week between March 29th and July 31st. So all of that applies to you as well. If you are not a citizen of the US, you cannot be paid pandemic unemployment assistance unless you are legally permitted to work in the US at the time that the services were performed, and you continue to collect unemployment with, you have to be authorized to work in the US even as you continue to collect unemployment benefits. So that authorization needs to be intact for the full length of time you are collecting unemployment benefits. That's really important. And we've had that question quite a few times. And before, oh good, okay. So moving on for this unemployment for self-employed individuals, I just, just as be as candid as I can, I know how difficult it's been to wait for these unemployment benefits to become available. I know the headache that a lot of you, I've talked with hundreds of people at this point during this disruption about accessing unemployment benefits for self-employed. I feel you, I'm sorry. It's been frankly a nightmare in a lot of ways for a lot of people. I get it. Right now, I mean, even this morning, I looked online and the portal appeared to be down, and they were suggesting, the EDD was suggesting to apply by phone or call in, and we know how long those wait times can be. But I want to encourage you to just keep moving forward because they're making a lot of concessions that they didn't make in the past, like they're certifying whenever you make a UI claim, you have to certify that you indeed were either laid off or looking for work during that time to receive benefits. And they're just running these claims through the system to get them processed as quickly as possible. And so I applaud that effort. They will probably go back and audit some of those certifications. So I share this with my clients and openly on webinars. Don't mess with the EDD. If just like I wouldn't mess with the IRS, if you are attempting to fraudulently for any reason, not suggesting anyone is, but claim unemployment benefits when you're currently employed or when you're receiving PPP or any of that, the EDD will come back to you and ask for that money back. So I know that there'll be people that fall through the cracks and that will happen, but I've also seen the EDD request money paid back that they've overpaid. So they will be doing audits on this, you can guarantee that. So you can only, for this program for pandemic unemployment assistance, you can only go back as far as 2/2/20, which 2020, which is when the date, the federal disaster declaration was made. But for most of us in California, the impact wasn't seen until mid-March. So those are the dates that they'll be looking at. For self-employed individuals, your minimum weekly benefit amount is $167. So everyone gets this. And this is actually really good news for self-employed, because before you could have just received $50. But under the CARES Act, they said, okay, everyone's gonna get $167. So bare minimum, if you're self-employed and your business just went, belly up, and from February 2nd and all the way till December 23rd or December 31st, sorry, at the end of the year, you can receive $167 every week from the EDD. And in addition to that, you will receive an additional $600 between 3/29 and 7/25/2020 every week, an additional $600. After July 31st, your payment will go back down to $167. So that's good news for self-employed. If you're barely hanging on and you need that extra cash flow or cash assistance. I'm not going to go through all of this just because there's a lot of information here, but payments at this point, if you haven't been around the EDD system or unemployment assistance system for a while, they used to send checks. Now they're sending debit cards and just automatically reloading the debit cards, which is really great. So you don't have to wait for that check in the mail. Okay, I know we'll have more questions on this, and I'd be happy to answer them as we go through the rest of the program at the end. So now we're going to be talking about the SBA loan options. Now there's three I'm going to mention quickly, and well, not so quickly, but the three I'm going to be talking about this afternoon. The Paycheck Protection Program, as y'all know, as of Monday, the SBA opened this program again. And there's a few things that I want to mention here. Again, we know that this has been a really challenging rollout for banks, specifically the turnaround time, and just getting any information, any clarity about this program has been very difficult, and I do understand that. The first thing that you want to do if you're still looking for a PPP loan is check with your bank. Check to see if they're a 7A lender. Now, we also know that some banks have been pushing back on this and saying, if you don't have a line of credit with us, or if you haven't been a client for that long, fine. I get that. This program, again, has had a difficult rollout. There are alternative lenders like PayPal and a few others that I will mention a little later that you can connect with. So if your bank is giving you that runaround, find somewhere else. Like, don't stop. I've worked with enough clients now to know that those who didn't get just immediate access that benefited from this program, they had to shop around, and that may be what you have to do in this moment with this program. And the SBA, they came under criticism for, well, not the SBA, but the publicly traded companies came under a lot of criticism for applying for this program and receiving funding. They're supposed to be returning that money. This program was designed essentially to keep workers in their place of employ, bring them back to work. And it hasn't rolled out as effectively as the government, I'm sure, has hoped. But essentially what this program is meant to do is bring back any employees that you have had to let go before February 15th. So you can bring them back until June 30th, 2020, and use the money to pay for the next it's about eight weeks, about 2 months of salary and rent and utilities and mortgage interest, and etc. So that was the intent of this program. Hasn't worked out exactly like that. So key features, again, all small businesses, including nonprofits, 501c3s, 501c19s. This is very specific. If you are a chamber, unfortunately, I'm sure you already know this program does not apply to you. Veterans organizations, tribal concerns, sole proprietors, and self-employed individuals and independent contractors. So if you are a sole proprietor, if you are self-employed, for example, and you contract with other 1099 contractors to produce a product or service, whatever it is, do not include them on your application for paycheck protection. It is meant because they can do that themselves. So that's the way the SBA is looking at this program. This applies to all companies with 500 or fewer employees, or by the standards set by the SBA, depending on NAICS code, which is a certain standard set for specific industries. So research if that is you, if you are an affiliate, or if you are over that threshold of 500 employees, please check the SBA's website because they have a lot of information and guideline around that. The maximum loan amount is up to $10 million, which is huge. And this loan is designed to be fully forgiven if proceeds are used for payroll costs and other designated business operating expenses within the 8 weeks following the date of the loan origination. So the day that you get that money is that clock starts ticking. Now I'm expecting possibly an extension to that because of the rollout of this program, but we don't know. So if you have PPP money now, know that you should be spending it on payroll expenses and other designated business expenses in order to have a chance of this loan being forgiven. This loan is also matures at 2 years and has 1% interest. I've heard, excuse me, I've heard of a few other lending institutions charging more, charging loan origination fees, charging third-party processing fees, whatever it is. That's not the way that this loan was intended to work, but because the SBA gave permission for alternative lenders like PayPal, for example, although that's not the case with PayPal, but I'll use them as an example. And sometimes those loan aggregate companies will charge extra money because they're finding you a match to make that loan. And so please pay attention to that, that these are the rules and essentially that every lending institution is supposed to follow. The interest rate at 1% matures at 2 years, first payment deferred by 6 months, and it's 100% guaranteed by the SBA. No collateral, no personal guarantees, no borrower or lender fees made payable to the SBA. And we receive this question quite often: what information do I need to give to my lender to get this loan? And the answer is it is very different depending on each lender. But first, check with your bank, check with your local bank, the relationship that you have with your banker to see if they are a 7(a) lender. Now, for the EIDL loan, we know that at this point, the additional money that was appropriated under the second or third round of the CARES Act gave a certain amount of money to the EIDL program. At this point, they are not opening the doors to additional loan applications. That being said, you know, this has been such a roller coaster, frankly, of information. It could change tomorrow. It could change right now. It could be changing right now, and I have no idea. We're all in this webinar together. So please check back on our website. We'll be sure to send out an e-blast or however we need to communicate this to ensure that if and when this loan product does open again, that you are the first to know. So if you have lived in Ventura, Santa Barbara County in the last 3 years, you might be familiar with this loan already. This is their general disaster, SBA's economic injury disaster loan that they do provide in federally declared disasters, but it was expanded under the CARES Act in a couple ways. So this is an up to $2 million loan, although I'll just be frank with you, most of the clients that we connect with, they've received a loan amount far less than what they need or anticipated. In this loan is not a loan that you ask for $100,000. When you fill out the paperwork for this loan, it's sent to an SBA loan officer who decides based on an algorithm that is unknown to me what amount that they are willing to give you. So they do look at debt history. They do look at your debt history. They look at your current credit score rating. Your credit will be run if you apply for this loan and the PPP loan. So just know that it's not one that you say, hey, SBA, I need $500,000. It doesn't work like that. They look at your balance sheet and all that, and they say, oh, this is how much we're going to give you. We also understand that because of the volume of requests that this loan has had, that the amount that they're giving is, like I said before, lower. It is definitely lower than what I've seen or what I saw during the Thomas fire. The terms seem to be sticking to 30 years. I saw other clients with terms that were different after the Thomas fire. That's why it says up to $2 million, up to 30-year terms. I saw clients with loans that were at 15-year terms. So in this situation, I'm hoping that if they're keeping the loan amount smaller, that they're giving longer terms. And the interest rates are at 3.75% for nonprofits. It's 2.75%, 3.75% for businesses, 2.75% for nonprofits. I confused myself. And independent contractors and self-employed individuals are eligible for this loan. If and when this loan does become available again, do not hesitate. There is no reason to hesitate anymore. These are the resources that are available to you. Do not hesitate to apply. We'll move on there. I'm sure there'll be other questions. Okay, I wanted to mention this is something I haven't really clarified in a couple of the other in the other webinars. If you do have an existing idle loan, this is really important. If you received one from the Hill Woolsey or Thomas Fire disaster, know that if you have an existing loan, there was an automatic deferral given to the end of 2020 on payments. So, but that was only if you didn't have automatic payments set up with them. So it was automatic if you're paying by check each month and you're submitting those statements to them. But it's not an automatic deferral if you have automatic payments. So they didn't suspend automatic payments. If you need to request a deferral, I highly encourage you to call them because that benefit is available to you right now. You don't need to be paying additional money toward your debt if you don't need to right now. So you can request a deferment. And lastly, for those that applied before March 29th, 2020, you, at this point, you cannot reapply, but for those that applied before March 29th, 2020, you can't reapply, unfortunately, at this point, but you weren't eligible to receive the up to $10,000 grant as included as part of this loan package. And sorry, if it reopens again, please reapply, because that upfront grant is based on how many employees you employ at the time of the loan application. And so if you're a sole proprietor, please don't expect $10,000. If you're only a one-person shop, you'll get probably $1,000. So we're seeing this play out in different ways among our clients. But if this opens again and you applied before March 29th, please reapply to request that upfront advance. Okay, just a couple things to mention. I've shared a little bit about PPP and EIDL, but in this, about 2 weeks ago, gosh, it feels like the days are just flying by and running into each other at the same time. We created a federal funding preparation guide. So this is really important if you are still looking to apply for PPP or you have questions about how EIDL and PPP work together. This document is available on our website, on our webpage, edcollaborative.com/COVID-19, and I'll share that at the end. But I encourage you to check that out because you're going to want to see, like, if you've applied for a PPP loan and your bank is giving you the runaround, what should you do? Or you got denied, what should you do? Or you've received PPP and EIDL, what should you do? What should you be aware of? So I encourage you to check that out on our website. Also, we have an extensive comparison of both programs on our website on the same page, the COVID-19 page. So check that out line by line, and we'll show you the difference and the payment, the interest rates, and all of those things. The comparison between PPP and EIDL is a really valuable document. Lastly, the SBA Express Bridge Loan, and this is something that's still available, or they're still advertising on their website. And I want to clarify, this bridge loan is for individuals who have a current relationship with an SBA lender, and that would be primarily through your bank. So not necessarily an SBA person working at your bank. It would be an SBA lender. And in this situation, they're giving up to $25,000 to individuals who already have that relationship. So that could look like you applied for an SBA loan to open your own small business about 6 months ago, and you're paying that back, or you received the loan and you're paying that back through that lending institution. You should be eligible to request a quick bridge loan up to $25,000 if you need that. So check into that if you fall into that category. A couple local disaster loan fund options available to you. We have, the EDC has our own disaster loan fund. This is a private capital loan fund. We offer up to $50,000 through our disaster loan fund at 4.25% interest. This is designed for businesses who have been impacted by COVID-19. We're looking for specific candidates, as this is again a private capital loan fund, so it's our risk that we're lending. The first 3 months are interest only, and the terms are at 48 months. So if you're interested in that, please email loans@edcollaborative.com. And just to clarify a couple things, we're looking for businesses that are currently operational, that have held on to their employees and are just needing an additional cash boost at the moment. So that's primarily the candidate that we're looking for. Now, Women's Economic Ventures has a little more wiggle room or leniency in their loan option. They're offering up to $10,000 at 4.5% interest for 36 months. And I would highly encourage you to check out that loan program. They have over $1 million, I believe, in that loan program right now. And so they have been, as you can imagine, flooded with many applications, but check it out. That's still available to you. So these are the questions that that keep me up at night and keep me employed, I think, for now. Which option is best for me? You know, the truth is, and many of you know this already, you can apply for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. But remember that these programs are designed to be used for different operating expenses. So PPP covers payroll and different utilities and mortgage, but it depends, again, it depends on the lending institution. I've heard of many lending institutions who are only giving this loan for payroll expenses. You cannot use, in the SBA world, you cannot double dip, so you cannot use SBA money to pay for payroll, PPP to pay for payroll, and then PPP, the same money to pay for, from EIDL to pay for payroll. You can at different times, but you need to make sure that's clean and clear. And for a lot of business owners, I know that, you know, not all of you are CFOs or came from a financial background. I get that. So we have financial advisors that can sit with you and go over different scenarios that if you've received that money, if you haven't received that money, if you receive both, what you need to do in order to make sure that you qualify for full loan forgiveness on the PPP side. That's the most critical thing. The SBA's Economic Injury Loan provides an up to $10,000 grant. We've already gone through that. And remember, EDD's work-share program works well in production type environments or environments that where work hours are known to have been decreased. So maybe you're in a position now where you actually have been bootstrapping it with, you know, different loans and et cetera, and you need to go down, you need to downsize your workforce. This program could work for you. Additionally, on the other side, it could work for you as we reopen the economy and your business is looking to rehire and bring people in, but it's not enough for full-time work. So don't overlook that program. It might be a really good fit. And lastly, we all know this. I'm so sorry. I just can't say this enough. SBA's PPP program is still being worked out. And I know I'm going to get this question, so I'm just going to answer it now. The requirements for loan forgiveness have not been clarified yet by the SBA. So you may have received something from your bank, and I highly encourage you to keep that information with you that clarifies loan forgiveness. But in terms of a form to fill out or whatever it is, most lending institutions have not provided that to their people. So when you receive this money, the question is, now what? And that is the next topic of our webinar series. So next Wednesday, I'll be talking about that, and hopefully we'll have more clarity by next Wednesday on that. So you can join us. You can register for that online immediately after this webinar. And these are all great questions. I mean, and these are questions again that we get asked all the time. you've received, or like I just said, have you clarified the loan forgiveness structure with the lending institution you receive money from? Not all of them are doing that right now. Some of them are, not all of them. So you may have some information, but not everything. Here's another one. Have you asked your employees to return to work and they would rather sit on the couch and claim unemployment and watch, I don't know, British mysteries and eat bonbons? That's what I would like to do today. But you know, this is a real problem. This is something that was already had been debated in the House when this program, PPP program, was being rolled out, and the unemployment insurance with the additional $600. I've been talking with quite a few employers who have that very scenario going on. So if that's you, I would like to connect with you offline. There's several things just to be aware of in terms of what employees can claim that give them access to unemployment that you may not be aware of in this scenario. But the last thing for paycheck protection, again, is have you also received EIDL funding? If so, let's make sure that those books, that financial record keeping that you're doing is clean and clear, and so you can go into the bank at the end of those 8 weeks with what you need to get full loan forgiveness. EIDL, here's a few questions. I've received, I think, my upfront grant request. So I know just due to the volume of what the SBA has been dealing with, they have not been able to be upfront is probably the wrong term, but immediate maybe with a lot of their communication. So people are receiving money in the bank that they're like, where did this come from? Is this my loan, or is this my advance, or whatever it is? You know what? I can't answer that for everyone, but I will say that I'm probably 99.9% sure that if you have money that just shows up in your bank account, unless you happen to be one of those, what was that? Those phishing scams years ago that I think are still going around. The last relative of the Queen of Mozambique, and she's giving you $50 million US. I'm guessing it's probably the PPP, the EIDL loan grant. And if that's the case, that money is to be used, and it's yours. It's a grant. You should have a letter coming from the SBA or a call or something coming from the SBA very quickly thereafter, clarifying your grant amount and then what the loan amount is. But we know that there has been a significant delay there. When will you receive notice of your loan? Great question. That is still, I think I said 2 to 3 weeks yesterday. I'm going to extend that by 3 to 4 weeks, because there's people who have applied, who've received their advance and still have not heard after a month. So, you know, it's just time to be patient and persevere in this moment, because I don't know how long that's going to take. And again, I've received PPP and EIDL. What should I do now? I will say this, I'll keep saying it. What's most important is that you connect with a business advisor or your accountant or CPA or whoever you're working with to clarify your accounting structure and your payment structures, so that when you seek loan forgiveness, that you understand what is required of you. But also, this is about making decisions in the face of something that's completely unknown. And I want to mention this before we end. You know, I've said at the beginning, and I will say during any disruption that you go through, apply for the EIDL loan, apply for PPP, apply for all of it, because we don't know how long this is going to be. And I know how re-traumatizing it is to hear, okay, the stay well at home order just got extended to May 15th, because I know most likely it's going to be extended to May 30th. And then what? Another 15 days and another 15 days thereafter? We don't know that. So as much as we're trying to be in the moment, you have to consider all scenarios, because I'm hearing from clients or from people who are just, like I said, just waking up today saying, oh my God, I thought the economy would reopen by now. I haven't applied for anything. What do I do? And if that's you, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make light of it. But the point is, you got to know all your options. And so put them on the table. It's time, I think, to put all the cards on the table. So look at what is your current cash flow need for the next 8 to 10 months. And I'm saying 8 to 10 months, but if you're in the entertainment industry, or if you're in the when I say entertainment, I mean event industry, or something that you know is dramatically impacted by COVID-19, we're talking, you know, a year and a half to 2022. So think far beyond that. What is your cash flow need? Does your business model need to pivot in order to survive? And I would say for every business, it's had to. We've had to do telecommuting. We've had to learn different technologies and Zoom and do everything that has made this very uncomfortable and stretching. And a lot of people have done it gracefully, and a lot of people haven't. And I'm looking at myself right now as I'm saying that, you know, it hasn't been easy. And so the point is, though, that what do you need to do in order to not just survive, to thrive in this moment? What are you getting out of this moment? What additional skills do you need to learn? Have you been waiting to get online, to get your business online? And now is the time. You know, one of the easiest ways to get your business online is to just start a social media account like Instagram, and you can sell directly from Instagram. I was just talking with someone the other day yesterday about in different places in Portland, Oregon. I was hearing that people were doing private shopping tours of the businesses that they had. And as we move towards businesses that can reopen, that are not considered essential, but those businesses can reopen, like retail spaces, can you do a private shopping experience for your best clients so that you can bring them into the space just via FaceTime and have a shopping experience with them there? So be creative. And lastly, is it time to make a graceful exit? I mean, I think it, like I said, it's time to put all the cards on the table, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I ran across this. I have this great. I'm just going to show this actually, because I think it's the best organizer there is. The productivity planner is #1, the best organizer I've come across. It's so great. And the quote today was the quote below: "The future belongs to those who learn more skills." I'm not even reading it right. "The future belongs to those who learn more skills and combine them in creative ways." And that's just a great word for this moment. Like, we got to be creative. And I think of my Nana, who went through World War II as an 18-year-old, was a war bride, moved over from England to the Mojave Desert, God forbid, of all places, right? And she had to get creative. She didn't know what she was doing. She was in a desert, and she was from you know, a paradise of rain and green and flowers and all that. And she started importing cars, luxury cars that no one had over here. She started importing Rolls Royces and Bentleys and Mercedes, and it was just a way to make money quickly. And she was incredibly creative. I mean, I think these are the moments that define who we are, and really not just define who we are, where we discover what we are made to be. And I'm seeing that over and over again with the clients that I speak to. So I'll encourage you with that. I know you're getting more than you asked for in this webinar. I'm sorry, but I just have to say that. Okay, so additional services available. Like I said, we are available in and out of disruption. You can call our office at any time at 805-409-9159 and ask for to speak to a business advisor. Watching this webinar does not give you gives you access to our whole program, but you have to take the first step. So you have to call us. We're not going to be calling you. So make sure that you reach out to a business advisor if you need additional assistance. And then access our resource guide online. I keep this updated almost daily. It's found on our webpage, edcollaborative.com/COVID-19. So it's found there. It's available in English and Spanish, and you can see it. It's the first 2 red buttons on that webpage. And lastly, my name is Claire Briglio. I'm the Communications and Business Disruption Resource Director. And you can call our office again at that number below. Check out our webpage, and we will move to Q&A right now. Thank you so much for staying with me. That was a very long broadcast. Wow. longer than I thought. Apologies for that, but we will answer as many questions as we can in the next 30 minutes. So Emily, if you are with me still.
I am. And Brianne, could you really quick put the EDC website and the phone number in the chat for everybody?
You got it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right, Claire, here we go. If you are not affected at this time, but know that business will drop in the coming months, what should we do?
If you are not affected at this time, but no business, okay, this is a really great question. So I want to just remind you of the impact that any sort of disruption has. It is a rolling impact. So usually when we look at any sort of disruption, there'll be the initial, I wish I had this chart, I should show it to everyone. They'll have the initial disruption. You'll have a wave of resources coming to you and you know, all the drama that happens there within the first 3 months, and then there'll be a lull. And if that disruption is gone, then people will start to re-enter the economy in some way. But then there'll be an additional lull, and it's kind of like just this rolling wave of businesses that thought that they could make it through, maybe didn't make their you know, highest sales season, and so by holiday time they don't have any cash, or maybe they don't have a good, depending on what time of year or whatever it is. So depending on your business or industry, you could be benefiting right now from what's happening. Maybe in some way, like Amazon is a good example of that. What we don't know and what we can't predict is what consumer behavior will be in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. And so what I encourage everyone to do in that situation is take advantage of the cash flow resources that are available to you now. Number one, that's all of the programs that I mentioned, and the EIDL loan. You know, if you're in a position where you didn't apply, or you did apply, the beauty of that loan is that you can give it back. If you don't need it, you can take the grant, you can have that free money, great. You can go on your way, but you can apply for it just so it's there. So if I was in your position, I would meet with a financial consultant and look at that wave of how we might be predicting consumer spending in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, and the specific industry that you're in, because that will be a huge determining factor in how you plan cash flow, and then what your current cash reserves are. So really good question. Thank you for that.
All right. Could the WorkShare program be used with PPP and or other grants and benefits?
WorkShare is designed, okay, so WorkShare, that's a great question. WorkShare works with unemployment benefits. So if you are, I'm not sure if you can have some of your, I don't know why this would happen. You would have some of your employees on WorkShare and some of your employees on PPP. I don't know how that would happen, but here's what is a possibility. You apply for PPP, you get it. It covers 8 weeks of salary and payroll, right? Then you can apply for WorkShare because you've exhausted that PPP loan, and hopefully it's fully forgiven. So yeah, I can see that working, but not at the same time. But WorkShare and unemployment, because it's coming from the same pool of money, is working at the same time. So I hope that clarified it.
Thank you. We applied for PPP the same day it was originally available through a major bank, and have read many places not to apply more than once, but the major bank has done nothing so far. Can we reapply with the local bank, or should we wait?
I recommend you looking at the guide that I have, the federal funding guide on our website, because that question, I do answer that question, but to everyone else, and for you, that's a great question. What we are recommending, because applying at multiple places is not a good idea. The SBA doesn't like to see that. Again, that looks like double dipping, like you're trying to just, I know that's not what you're trying to do, but that's what it can appear as. So what we recommend is that you withdraw your application from the bank and get some sort of letter or confirmation from that, and then approach another lender. But know that if you do that, and I don't know what bank you're talking about, I know that there's one that I would never go to ever again in my entire life, and I'm not going to say it on this webinar, but if you are looking to do that, you're going to be waiting in another line. So if there's some way that you can get clarity on where you stand in that line, or if that's not even possible and it's just time to move on, you got to pull the plug, you want to withdraw your application and go somewhere else.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm self-employed and received EIDL to help with the business costs. However, that doesn't cover my living costs. Having received the SBA EIDL, does that now make me ineligible to apply for unemployment as a self-employed person?
No, you can still apply for unemployment. That's
Great.
a great question.
Is there any additional resources for veteran-owned small businesses?
Ooh, great question. Let's take their information and get back to them, because that's something I don't know at the moment.
Great, so Allison, will you chat Brianne your email address and we'll connect you? If someone lives with a person who is immunocompromised and therefore cannot work, do they still receive unemployment?
So in that situation, yes, there are protection and provision for people who are caring for, I just want to clarify this, that they're caring for an immunocompromised person and therefore they're not going to work.
It says if you live with a person who is immunocompromised and therefore cannot work. So Amy, we're going to assume that you're living with someone, you're not caring for somebody. So if I'm wrong, repost your question and we can re-answer it.
I think that just speaking to that though, I believe that there is additional provision given for people in that situation. So I would, that's a conversation to have with your employer. Are they self-employed? Or I don't.
Amy, why don't you repost your question and let us know if you're caring for someone or living with them, and then let us know what work you do. Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Are you currently unemployed? All that stuff. So I'm gonna clear out your question and repost it with all those extra details. How do we talk to an advisor about SBA, EIDL, and PPP?
All you're going to do, if you want to talk to the EDC SBDC advisor, which are the advisors that I was talking about earlier, you're going to call the number 409-9159 and ask to connect with a business advisor to talk about different loan options.
Great. I'm a sole proprietor of a small retail operation. I only began my business in 2009, so I don't have any tax filings to apply for unemployment. What is the best way for me to proceed?
You still apply for unemployment. If you haven't tried, you just got to try. They are in this situation because the CARES Act extended benefits to that 167 minimum a week. You're going to be hopefully given that, but there are certain documents that you are going to need to provide. So you need to start a relationship with the EDD. That's the best advice I can give you.
Great. EIDL upfront grant received. What is the timeline you are seeing regarding the loan amount 3 to 4 weeks after the grant is received? Question.
Okay, here's the honest truth. And I'm not, not that I would not give you the honest truth. I do not know one company yet that has received their grant, upfront grant, and has also received their additional funding. We've worked with over 2,000 businesses. So we are currently conducting or in the process of framing out a survey to figure out when these clients and if these clients have received that additional funding. But what we know of now is of distributions of those grants. But I personally do not know of a company that's received it. It doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. It means that of the companies that I've dealt with and in the conversations I've had with other people in the office, that's what we're looking for. So we're about to do a survey, and if you would like to sign up for our newsletter, please do on our website. You can find it on our homepage. I believe you can still find it on our contact page. You have to go to our contact page right now to sign up for our newsletter, and we would love to hear the status of how these programs are being rolled out.
Joseph in the chat said he has received both. So Joseph, just to
Great.
clarify with us, did you receive the advance and the actual loan, or did you receive the advance plus PPP? And congratulations. Just to expand on your last answer, Claire, I applied for EIDL but have not heard back. How do I check the status? So it sounds like they haven't gotten the advance yet.
So in that situation, excuse me, EIDL, those current applications are being processed on a first come, first served basis. We're still looking at 3 to 4 weeks before people seem to get any response from the SBA. And I'm going to suggest that that probably is going to be a little bit longer. And I'm not sure. I mean, I know it's the volume of requests that is, and it's the volume of requests that's creating the delay. So it doesn't mean that you're not approved. It means that that it's the volume of requests that they're processing.
Well, and just my own experience, I have received the EIDL advance, and when I log on to the SBA website, it doesn't even list my loan. It's like there's no record of my loan, and I received the advance. So I think it's just a waiting game, which is not comfortable.
It's not comfortable at all. I'm going to say something that I'm going to share something very candidly too. And this is not an expert opinion. This is Claire's opinion, okay? Although I am an expert in something. I am wondering because of the kind of backtracking that we've seen on the EIDL program. Right now, all that's listed there is a $10,000 advance. If you look at the SBA's website, which you can't apply for, right? Because the program's not open. I wonder if we're going to see some people receive a grant and no loan. I'm just wondering that.
Yep.
So I think that when I say put all the cards on the table, I'm saying we can't depend on anything. That the unknown is completely undependable. And so you have to look at your financial situation like that. Unless you have the money in your hand or really in your bank account, it's an unknown.
Yep. Sue, we finally got to you, Sue. I'm sorry it took so long. Applying for the PUA through the CARES Act, it went to the next page before I put in the income. I'm an independent contractor with a 1099. Is it okay to leave the income out since I have not done my 2019 taxes, or should I start over again?
Oh, we've been filtering so many questions about that specifically because the site is also crashing and people can't get back in. And you know what, I'm gonna say, Sue, and I apologize for doing this, I would like you to connect with another business advisor that we have in-house, Bill Bartels. So if you call our number 409-9159, ask to speak to Bill Bartels after they do your intake. They'll ask you a few questions because he's been helping people with their applications right now. So he might have a different answer than I would as of 12:30 today.
Can you apply for EDD if you are 1099 and an employee of another company? So if you have both 1099 and W-2 income, can you apply for unemployment?
Yes, you can. This is also, okay, so for all of you who have multiple streams of income and you're a W-2 employee, the recommendation that we just received was that, like moments before I even began this webinar, was that you need to actually go through the W-2 portal, file as a W-2 employee. I don't know. So imagine a situation where if that is your situation, you could very well be a W-2 employee for a small mom and pop shop and actually make far more on your business and would rather go the PUA route. The reality is both of the length of the programs are the same. Bill Bartels, B-A-R-T-E-L-S. Thank you. So the length of the program is the same. The benefits are slightly different, of course. I'm guessing you might get more money on the W-2 side than you would the PUA side, just because it's more difficult. It seems to be more difficult to get higher wages on the self-employed side than it is on the W-2 side. So start on the W-2 side. Great.
I applied for PPP. At the end, a message popped out that your business is not eligible for this loan, and also from SBA, so I'm assuming EIDL. I didn't hear anything. What should I do?
I would like to know, I think you should speak to one of our financial advisors, because it'd be interesting to know what business isn't eligible. What is your business? It sounds like it might be a credit issue. It might be, that would have to go through one of our business advisors.
All right, so give us a call and let us help. What can a landlord do when multiple tenants are not paying rent?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So depending on the city you're in, you probably are already aware of the eviction. Well, we're speaking with Simi Valley, but your rentals might be in another place. You need to be aware of the eviction rules given by the city. You need to also know that you probably can't pursue legal action until after the state rule is exhausted, the state eviction moratorium is exhausted. So we are working right now to find resources for landlords in situations like that, because we know not every landlord is rolling in the dough. You need money too, to cover those mortgages. If you wouldn't mind, you can email me, or you can email info@edcollaborative.com, and I'll see that email come through, and we can connect you with someone who can help with that.
Great. Mm-hmm. I know I need to spend the PPP funds within 8 weeks. In my case, that would be June 17th. But since there is a clause that says I need to rehire back by June 30th, can I wait to rehire until the beginning of June, as long as the payroll expenses would still be 75% of my loan?
I would go back to your loan officer and just clarify your plan, because the way that I read it is that this program, you can go in at the end of June, or receive money at the end of June, and rehire your employees on June 30th when you receive the money. The money just has to be spent following the 8 weeks. The program's available from whenever the origination date was, and the 30th of June.
So she needs to spend her money by June 17th. That'll be the end of her 8 weeks.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I missed that. So what's
I think the answer is you need to talk to your lender, because what we're hearing is that the details of what qualifies as forgivable is, I mean, it's not what is forgivable, but the forgivable nuances are being figured out lender to lender. So you need to go back to your lender and say, this is my plan. Will this qualify for forgiveness?
Yes, exactly.
And again, my own experience, I got my PPP through PayPal, and I have reached out to them to say, okay, how do I make this forgivable? And they haven't gotten back to me. So everyone's just really overwhelmed, which is, again, not ideal, because we're all stressed and want to do things right. So just hang in there a little bit. And also make sure you come to the webinar series starting next week, which is I Got Funded, Now What?
Yeah, I just want to mention, if there's any, chat, thank you for people coming in late if you're joining us late, but please keep comments positive if it's related, especially to this webinar. This is a public service that we're doing, and if you have additional feedback, you're welcome to communicate that directly afterward. But let's keep the comments as positive as possible towards those assisting at the moment during this webinar. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, next question. What if I've not done 2019 taxes yet because of the extension to July? I am a sole proprietor and have who had a financially down year in 2018 and 19, but in 2020 business is booming. How do I prove this?
So this is for unemployment?
You know, it doesn't say. Nikki, can you chat us and say which program? And we'll just keep rolling to the next one because we're 10 minutes left.
If it's for, UI, they say that an estimate is okay. So that's huge on their part, and frankly. So it says that you can give an estimate even if you haven't filed your taxes yet.
Great. I am also curious. Oh, whoops. Sorry, Catherine. So we already answered your question about employees who are reluctant to come back. So the answer is chat us your email address and we'll connect you with Claire after that. So if anyone else is having trouble getting their employees to come back to work because they're making more in unemployment, chat your email address to Brianne and she'll connect you. My wife got laid off for good from her job, but she receives a severance pay and insurance for 6 months until August. Can she apply for EDD?
Sorry, okay, so.
Wife got laid off, but she got severance for 6 months.
Yes.
Can she apply for EDD?
Yes, I would still apply because we don't know when, if she's going to be able to go back to work after those 6 months or not, or if she's going to find another job. So yes, you can apply now. They do take severance into account, but what I'm not sure is if they do that in a federally declared situation. So apply, yes, apply.
Great, always apply.
Yes, just apply.
Yes, I got approved for PPP, and what if my employees don't want to return to work? Can I use the money for new employees?
Yes, you can. So the goal of the PPP program, remember, is to match your payroll expenses and your employee count by count, dollar for dollar. What we are recommending, if for those people specifically that are in that position, to and I can connect with you afterwards too, but is to make sure that your accounting is very clear so that you show the bank or lending institution, I tried to hire Johnny back and Johnny wanted to sit on the couch and eat bonbons. And so I asked this person to come on board and they said yes, or they didn't. And now I only have 3 employees, or whatever the case is. Because that loan is meant to be forgivable, you want to make sure that you're not overspending the amount for salary if you don't have the employees to support it. You can use it as a loan, but again, it matures at 2 years. So you better be ready to pay that back, and you might not have the capacity to pay back debt like that. So you can always give the money back if you don't use it all. But we can talk about that offline.
Good. I applied for PPP and the 10,000 EIDL grant. Do I need to apply for the main EIDL loan? And yeah, go ahead. And I know the answer is no. You've already. So what happened? The process for getting the EIDL loan is you first do an initial application, the quick one with not a lot of questions. Then you may get your advance, and then someone from the SBA will contact you to process the full application for your loan. So the answer is no, you don't need to do anything else to apply for the main EIDL loan.
Correct.
I have a green card. I have a grooming salon. I did not take a salary on a regular basis. Can I apply for unemployment? I received $5,000 from the SBA PPP. Can I apply for another loan? This only covers rent for 2 months. And I'm so sorry you're in this spot. And our hearts really go out to you on this. So I'm sorry.
Yes. Was the first question, can they apply for unemployment?
Correct.
Yes, you can apply for unemployment. The question about another loan, yes, I would apply for EIDL if that becomes available. And you would have the same ability to apply.
And you can also apply through WEAVE, Women's
Yes.
Economic Ventures. So they're
Yeah.
doing really quick turnaround on these disaster loans. And you may be able to apply for the EDC's disaster loan as well.
Yes.
So definitely call the hotline so that we can get you in the system and find every single avenue to get you funding. So we already posted the number in the chat and it'll be in the thank you email. So definitely call EDC so we can keep helping. I own a small business and RN, I don't know what that means. I was not paying myself before COVID-19. I'm running out of money due to the fact that I'm home with my little one and cannot work as much. If I applied for the loan, can I use it to pay myself?
She's self-employed. She's self-employed.
I own a small business.
Okay.
So I feel, so just more broadly, if you own a small business, can you use PPP to pay yourself as a W-2 employee and or as an owner?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So she should apply for PPP, number one. But I'm also thinking about the childcare need that she has. Let's take this question offline too, because there may be additional resources for self-employed individuals that need to provide, that are the only child care provider source, and that's covered through disability or something else through the EDD.
Maria, why don't you chat Brianne your email address and we'll connect you. All right, we have 8 questions left in 4 minutes, so we're gonna hustle. Where can I get information on appealing the insurance business interruption claim that was denied? So this person got denied, and she asked me what to do now when I said appeal the denial, and her question is, how do I get information on that?
You are going to want to connect with the California Insurance Commissioner. On their website, there's information there. And a number to call. Did I get that question? Did I hear that question?
No, you're right.
Okay.
I applied for an SBC loan. If we get approved, I was wondering if I could hire someone to do publicity. So I'm assuming you said SBC, but I'm assuming you mean an SBA loan. And the question was, can you use probably that EIDL loan to hire someone to do publicity? So are there any restrictions on how you spend that EIDL loan money?
You can also, that should be fine.
Great. I was turned down for unemployment and filed for PUA, but had difficulty completing the application. It kept freezing. I'm a sole proprietor.
You got to keep going.
Just keep doing it. And I recommend people try it like once an hour, which sounds horrifying, and I'm sorry, but my anticipation is probably during business hours it's busy, but when it gets dark, maybe it'll be lighter. Just keep going. I received the EIDL, but it's not enough to cover rent and electricity. How can I hire employees back with the amount if the amount doesn't cover the above?
I would look into alternative cash flow options, loan options. So
and PPP. Apply for PPP as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're still in the window of being able to apply for PPP, which is remarkable. You've got EIDL already. I think that's your option.
Yeah. Are there loans available for landlords who are not getting paid rent and therefore cannot pay their own mortgages?
We are currently investigating that.
And you may be able to apply for forbearance of your mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
How can realtors get help? What about a landlord not getting paid?
How can realtors help?
Get help.
Get help? I mean, I would direct you back to the National Realty Association or what resources they're giving, because that's specific to your industry. We are trying to find right now just additional resources for landlords, and a lot of the loan products aren't set up to. You can apply for this isn't true. You can apply like as a small business owner who owns multiple properties for EIDL, for example. If that was available to you, we did have a couple landlords apply for that program. I'm not sure if they were accepted, but you have to look at, like Emily mentioned, the loan forbearance, and loan forbearance. Okay, 2 more.
Yeah, so we got 1 minute left, but we only have 2 questions. So we're just gonna keep
Great.
going. You can do that, Claire. Is the
Yep.
10,000 advance for EIDL for employees only?
No.
You can use the 10,000 EIDL advance for any expense.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. What if you have a Simi Valley business license as needed to work as an independent contractor, which you only work part-time? Since the business started in 2019, it was a part-time job for additional income in addition to this person's W-2 job. I applied for a loss via the business and there was no income since COVID. So I have a UI claim that has started. However, now I lost my W-2 job. So it sounds like they applied under PUA, but now lost their W-2. So can't you open a new claim under UI?
You need to get on the phone. That is a phone call, because I don't think their system is set up intuitively enough at the moment to understand all that nuance. So you're going to need to get on the phone and have a conversation. And I'm sorry, I know it's going to take a while. It might take a couple days to get through to someone, but that's what you're going to have to do. And I would wait, wait till next, if you can, wait till next Monday, because hopefully by then things will calm down a little bit. But yeah, you're going to want to apply on the W-2 side.
And we have another question for the EDD phone number. So Brianne, could you look up the EDD phone number and post it in the chat? Last question, yay! What is the rate for EDC services?
The EDC services are free.
Whoop, whoop.
Free, 100% free. It's true. It's true. You've already paid for it. Your tax dollars at work right here in this moment. It's pretty amazing. So call anytime, 805-409-9159, and we have about 30 different consultants, or 30 consultants with every area of business expertise, and can help in virtually every area of business need.
Well, and what's kind of interesting, and I keep saying this, this disaster has amplified every underlying positive and negative condition of businesses. And so what's really cool, I know, well, that was mean of me to say, is nothing about this is really cool. And the EDC can help you with marketing and your business model and revenue streams. And so see this as an opportunity to get connected if you weren't already with the EDC, because yes, in addition to helping get through the storm, they can actually help us work on the underlying challenges in our businesses. And I say that because my business is an EDC client, and they're there with me to help me figure this stuff out. So get enrolled with the EDC because they can help you with all kinds of stuff. Okay, one last question.
Emily.
You're welcome. You guys are great. Would you put a glossary of acronyms? Deborah, this is a great idea, and maybe we could put it in the guide.
Oh, a glossary of acronyms like PPP, EIDL, etc.
Yeah, UI, PUA. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Excellent idea.
Awesome.
Excellent idea. Thank you very much, everyone.
Simi Valley, we did it. Good work.
Yeah, good job.
All right.
Good job, you all.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I wish that, we're always looking to help Simi Valley in any way that we can. And we have board representation from Simi Valley on our EDC board. So I just want to say that we are connected to your city, but you all have access as business owners to our services, and we're here anytime, in and out of disruption. Spread the word. You can give out our information to anyone else who may be in need. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you maybe at the next webinar. Thanks so much.
One last question. How do we access the Zoom video? You will get an email from us in the next, either today or tomorrow, with a link to the Zoom. And we always also publish it on the website. So the latest webinar is up on the website.
Yeah, this webinar will be on the website probably tomorrow. I need to fix a few things, but this webinar should be available via email sooner than that. And look for that. Website is edcollaborative.com. Brianne, can you add that into the, thank you.
Thank you. When is the next webinar? Go ahead.
Always on Wednesdays. We did this special for Simi Valley, just again because we wanted to make space for all your questions. But every Wednesday at 12:30 we have our weekly webinars, and they usually go until about 2 because we've spent about an hour and a half, I think, on the phone or on the webinar today. So look for that, and you can find that on our website, which Brianne just posted on our business resources page. On our it's to find it directly, it's edcollaborative.com/COVID-19. That's the business resource page that we're directing people to.
Great. Okie dokie.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Brianne.
everyone.
Okay, everyone take care, be safe, and see you soon.
See you soon.